Thank you all for joining us for our SICSS-Howard Mathematica Lunchtime Talk with Black in AI. During these chats while you chew, you'll meet interesting people or organizations that are doing cool and complementary work to what you are currently learning about in the Summer Institute at Howard University. If you don't have your lunch yet, hit pause. For those of you with food and beverage in hand, let's get started. I'll begin by introducing our panelists. After that, we'll discuss Black in AI, its history, and its founders. Our panelists will each then go into what they do at Black in AI and how you can get involved. We'll also learn a bit about the various programs and work that they do. If you've seen other discussions on this channel, you know that I'm particularly interested in elevating discussions on the topic of diversity in computational social science. Today's discussion will reflect that as well. Let's meet our panelists. We have with us today a few board members from Black in AI. I'll start with Devin Guillory. Devin Guillory is currently a PhD student in computational computer science at UC Berkeley, advised by Trevor Darrell. He holds a BS and MS degree in electrical engineering from Stanford University. We won't hold that against you, Devin, even though you're a Berkeley student now. His research areas of focus are computer vision and machine learning. Devin's active research interests include problems of learning with less labels and improving out-of-distribution model performance. Prior to UC Berkeley, Devin worked as a staff data scientist at Etsy, where he served as technical lead on search ranking and computational advertising teams. As a founding engineer of Blackbird Technologies, Devin joined Etsy in 2016 by way of acquisition. Having worked on a variety of machine learning problems, including computer vision, robotics, natural language processing, information retrieval, computational advertising, to name just a few, in real-world settings, Devin is passionate about these areas where theory and practice diverge. Our second panelist is Ezine. Ezine is an incoming PhD student in computer science at the University of California, Berkeley. She completed her master's degree at Duke, her undergraduate degree at Harvard University, a postgrad fellowship at the University of Cambridge, studying the ethical and social implications of AI. Her research focused on using statistical and machine learning methods to better understand society using social data and to aid in decision-making processes related to access and equity. She's a passionate advocate for students from underrepresented backgrounds as an organizer and board member of Black in AI. Sanmi is an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. His research interests are in developing the principles and practice of trustworthy machine learning. Additionally, he focuses on applications to neuroscience and healthcare. He completed his PhD in electrical engineering at the University of Texas at Austin, advised by Jodeep Ghosh, and completed postdoctoral research at Stanford. His postdoctoral research was primarily with Russell A. Pauldrak and Pradeep Kavikumar. He has been the recipient of several awards, including Best Paper Award from the Conference of Uncertainty in Artificial Intelligence, a Sloan Fellow, a Kavli Fellow, an IJCAI Early Career Spotlight, and a trainee awardee from the Organization for Human Brain Mapping. He serves on the board of Black in AI. All right, why don't we dive straight into some questions? Let's see. I've got my questions right here in front of me. So would someone like to jump in and tell us a little bit about the history of Black in AI?
Devin, I think you should go.
Okay. So talk about the history of Black in AI. So Black in AI really started informally, right? From a represented. And so it really started through kind of like an email chain, right? Like, hey, here are some people working in this area. Like, let's get to know each other and grow from there. There was a lot of interest, and more people got added to this email list, and things continued to formalize from there, right? So creation of Google groups, creation of Facebook groups, a decision like, hey, we should have an in-person meeting, and let's organize a workshop for nerds. And as we, realize there's like more ways that we can use this growing community and this growing interest, it became more and more of a formal organization with more formal programs. Let's help, other people who are interested in applying to graduate schools. Let's see what we can do. people travel sponsorships to attend these conferences. Where are the areas of need for the Black community within the AI community, and how can we plug in and help to strengthen it?
Can you tell me a little bit about the founders of Black in AI?
Yeah, so Timnit and Reddit and Mustafa, I guess we're the three who took a leadership role very early on in the development of Black in AI. And so I believe at the time, Timnit was a PhD student at Stanford. Reddit was a PhD student at Cornell. Mustafa being a research scientist at Facebook AI. It was, really a collection of people from geographically really different places, West Coast, East Coast, Paris, who are all very passionate about continuing to build and grow this community. And, like I mentioned three, but there's a very large number of people who were involved at an early stage, who really, helped to develop this community, develop this organization, and put in effort in a bunch of different places. Sammy also could probably speak more. I know he was involved with the first workshop of Black in AI, which I guess was, kind of the first formal event. And if he wants to talk more about that experience.
Sure. So as Devin said, as the group got larger and things got more formalized, we got excited about creating a presence at a machine learning conference called NeurIPS. It happens to be one of the largest machine learning conferences, and I think currently one of the most popular. And so I forget the year, but Devin might correct me. I think it might have been 2000, either 17 or 18.
17.
Okay. 2017 was the first one where we had a few organizers, so including Timnit, Reddit, myself, and a few other people who helped set up the process for the first workshop. I think we tried to do quite a few things very differently from related events that might have been happening. There was no events that showcased Black people in the field at all at the time, at least as far as I'm aware. So this is something very new. I think we took seriously the difficulty of people getting to the venue and participating, engagement, awareness. And so I think one of the things that helped us stand out at the beginning was being very active about making it easy for people to attend. So we fully paid rides for most people who wanted to come to the conference. We helped on both getting people a showcase for their work at the conference. So it included both opportunity to present papers. There was a whole sort of paper review process, which has continued till today. And I think has been a great avenue for the community to showcase work that doesn't always get showcased in maybe some other venues. All the way to having a ton of participation the other way around and having, I guess, both internal facing and external facing potential for engagement, I think was something that we did really well at the beginning. And I think has been just really exciting seeing that grow and really develop moving forward. Again, as Devin said, our goal, both founders and I guess the process all the way through has been targeting directly representation of Black people in the field, which is a field that is really important, affects all of us often very directly, and one where we're often not in a room having a voice in aspects of this work. And so it's something that we were all very passionate about, and we've been sort of actively, and I think very excitingly, when I say that, what I'm thinking of is that the whole, both the conference and I guess the group has grown much bigger than I think anyone anticipated at the beginning. So it's been really exciting to see the community grow.
Thank you so much. I'd love to know how each of you became engaged with Black in AI. How did you first hear about it? How did and then from there, how did you rise to become a member of the board?
I can go first. Yeah, so I I attended the first workshop in 2017 as just like a random person who heard about it, actually from Reddit, and just seeing a bunch of advertisements and things sent to different kind of school affiliated organizations. And so I was like, okay, let me check what this is all about. So I attended as just, I didn't even submit a paper or anything like that, but was able to attend through the help of Black in AI and funding the conference registration fees and things like that. So that was my first kind of introduction to Black in AI, and just in general, I think the broader field of AI. I knew of AI. I didn't study computer science in undergrad. And so it was kind of still a foreign concept to me, and that helped formalize a lot of my interests going forward. And I was able to start focusing on some research around like the social implications of AI from there. And then the next couple of years, I volunteered to help organize the subsequent workshops, mainly focusing on the travel aspect. So trying to work out getting people visas who needed visas to attend wherever the conference was located, which came with a lot of challenges, given that the process to get visas is really complicated, even for just the short amount of time as a week, and helping to kind of book all of the travel expenses and hotel expenses for all of our various participants in the workshop, which in a non-virtual setting is pretty large. Like we usually give around 200 travel grants to people all over the world. And then last year, I'm mixing up my times, in 2019, I think, or maybe it was early 2020, Redia and Timnit had approached me about joining the board and thinking more strategically about the direction of Black in AI as an organization. So I gladly accepted, and have since been helping with the various programs that we have going on, both related to the workshop and conference presences, as well as the academic program, and trying to help build that into what it's already great, but like expanding it more. Yeah.
Anyone else want to jump in on their experience of how they found their way to the board? I see 2 smiles. Someone unmute.
Sure, I'm happy to, and I think I'll shout out Devin along the way. But I heard about at least I started some of the early discussions on the first conference I got involved in through Mustafa, where we had some discussions. We had had some discussions at, I guess I've been going to machine learning conferences for a bit of time at that time, because I guess I'd met Mustafa as a PhD student a few years ago. For the first one, again, we got excited about organizing something. And so I wanted to mention actually Sarah Brown and Lean Chapami, I'm sure I said her name incorrectly, who were the other organizers for the first workshop. Again, we all were really excited about the vision and sort of got really closely involved. Devin got involved early. He's being, I guess, a bit, what's the word? I forget, but not shouting himself out sufficiently.
Modest.
Modest, there we go. But it was very, I guess, took actions to help the org very early on his own, and helping us raise funds and a variety of other things, and very quickly got involved in a lot of the details of trying to get, again, this idea at the beginning off the ground into something actually tangible. After the first couple of conferences, I initially took a bit of a backseat, and then 2019, I want to guess, I was invited to join the board again.
And yeah, to I guess piggyback off of Sammy saying, so I guess I got involved with it early on, kind of I guess before it was formal, and very interested in building community and really just getting to know so many of the like phenomenal Black people in the space who didn't know initially. And I think as the first workshop kind of came to be, I kind of just was there, someone who was interested in helping out, and so asking questions like, "Hey, where can you need help? Where can I plug in?" And I think that's kind of more of where my formal involvement came from. There are some questions on like, "Hey, we need help fundraising," to help with some of these travel grants. And from that, there were some questions, okay, we need to look into incorporating, how do we set up some of the financial instruments and stuff like that. And so I kind of just jumped in and tried to help out where I could. And so I guess early on, the majority of my role was around like setting up financial and like institutional things so that we could function more efficiently going forward. We're figuring it out as we go. But yeah.
To add a little bit more, I guess I really resonated with part of what Devin said, which is about sort of just awareness of other people in the space. I mean, AI is maybe one of the bigger areas within, I guess, computing broadly, and continues to grow. Yet I think it's without an org like this, I think it's not often that we run into each other and know other people doing amazing work in the space. And really, the Black in AI catalyzing is making it easy for us to connect and know other people doing great work. I think I've met many amazing people by being involved. And we have additional color commentary from my son.
We do love the next generation's color commentary. And I want to say that, what you all do is interesting on so many levels. For those of us who are entrepreneurial within academic spaces, those who are trying to find community across our discipline. So thank you for for all the different things that you're bringing to the table today. I would be remiss if I did not ask you about AI in general. So for the unindoctrinated, which is many of us outside of your fields of expertise, there's a lot of hearsay when it comes to AI, what it is, how it drives decisions that are made about us and how we are represented. Can you talk to us a little bit about the way that AI affects the everyday lives of Black people? I know this wasn't on the list, but I get to ask extra questions.
I mean, I think we all probably have a bunch of thoughts here. I don't know who wants to go first. Esene, how about you chime in?
He voluntold Esene to start.
I know, right?
We all noticed that. He's like,
amazing skill there.
Go ahead.
It's okay. He does this to me all the time, so I should have seen it coming. Yeah, I think it depends on what different fields you're looking at. I think the way that I see it and the work in thinking about the work that I do, I see AI affecting the lives of Black people through the various kind of decision-making systems that have come through to make different kind of government decisions. So there's like a lot of talk and yeah, we see it happen. At least I've seen it happen a lot in different settings, like allocating government resources, as well as trying to decide, whether people are let out on bail in the criminal justice sense, and so on and so forth. And so, kind of the work that I think about a lot is if the use of these systems, whether or not we should use these systems in making some of these types of decisions that really do affect, people's access to resources and information. So that question, and then as well as like, okay, if we are going to do it, how do we make sure we do it in a way that gives access to all people, not just, kind of collecting resources in one group versus another, and how do we do it equitably? And so, those are kind of some of the things that come to mind and the work that I think about.
Additional members. So maybe to follow up on that, I think as AI is very alluring broadly, or just automated decision making, because it feels like it can allow you to solve problems that are hard for humans, and so it feels like a way out. And I think because of this, a lot of the world has just gravitated towards automating many kinds of decision making. I think what is increasingly and sort of repeatedly clear is that despite the fact that somehow I think in the popular thinking, algorithmic decision automatically has better, like good properties. Somehow it's made by a machine, so it's somehow right. I think it's very clear through many examples that at the very least, AI takes on the biases of us in the world, often takes on the biases of its designers, takes on the biases, sometimes exacerbates the biases because nefarious actors interact with the system. They're really great examples of this. There's an example, for instance, Joy Buolamwini has a line of work that she's been doing, thinking about face recognition, showing there that AI as deployed and implemented in many face recognition systems is more or less accurate for different demographic groups. On one hand, you might imagine this may not affect you personally. I think the fact that it's differently accurate for different groups means that it's much easier to make mistakes in a biased way. And there, again, just increasing number of examples of people that end up being incorrectly accused or incorrectly sort of, I guess, pinpointed, detected for different things because the algorithms are just incorrect in this or very specific biased way. They're great examples, and text in the way natural language process models, so models that analyze text also have various kinds of biases. Recidivism, so thinking about just criminal justice in general, again, this idea that AI helps us make better decisions is really permeated. And so there's this interest in trying to use these systems to help judges make decisions. But again, there's growing evidence that the decisions that these models end up recreating can exacerbate lots of biases. And because of their scale and speed, you can make lots of bad decisions very quickly. And so again, the harms that often come from these methods are generally not distributed equitably, if that's a way to talk about harms, maybe not. But again, it tends to be biased to different subgroups. And this is something I think maybe the world was not as seeing as clearly a few years ago. I think it's increasingly the world is aware. I think the maybe more importantly, our field, AI broadly, within AI, we're even more aware. So thinking about fairness and equity issues, I think you could barely get a paper into any of the main conferences on the academic side a few years ago. Now there are specialized conferences that focus on this issue that are very broad and multidisciplinary and involve many people from many fields that are adjacent to this that think very carefully about the problem and what we could do. So I think it's an exciting time on the research side. I think it's clear that it's a really challenging problem. I think, again, as we recognize this issue, there's an opportunity to help design better methods, be more thoughtful about when we want to use or deploy AI systems, be aware of the kinds of mistakes and biases that they have and how these biases can lead to serious harms. I think I don't know, I'm optimistic about the future of this aspect of the field.
Devin, would you like to finish us off with this question?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much I have to add. I think one of the things which I really consider about AI, like, I guess first, I'm not a huge fan of the term AI, though I will use it because it's ill-defined. But we have
I'm giving up that fight. I'm just accepting.
We have these automated decision processes which are kind of deployed everywhere and used in a tremendous number of places in areas that are not well understood or documented. And I think kind of like one of my chief concerns is it feels a bit like the Wild Wild West, right? Like you can kind of do whatever you want. You don't have to prove it works to anyone. and it just goes out and it affects the real world in ways which we aren't even attempting to measure. And when we do measure it, we find instances of where they harm, Black people. And so I don't know, it's interesting. I'm really excited by a lot of the more kind of responsible work that has been going on in the last few years, like at better understanding the types of harms and risks that these systems, introduce into society or amplify in society, and how can we better address that and better understand it, possibly fix it. But yeah, so I think that there are opportunities, right? Like, these systems, we can do more and more amazing things with AI, and it's possible for these things to be used in beneficial manner. But the existing economic structure behind how these things are used doesn't, by default doesn't benefit Black people. And I think it's something that we need to be aware of as we're talking about how we remedy it, right? Like it's not purely like ones and zeros technical aspects, but it's like how are these things plugged into these larger systems, and what is the net impact of them?
And to maybe expand one last thought, again, this is repeating a bit, but one of the ways that I think we can move the needle the most on this is, again, being in the room when these systems are designed, decisions being made. I think it's a challenge in many ways, but one that I don't know, we are very passionate about and enthusiastic about helping them forward.
Thank you all. So you talked a little bit about some of the different things that happen at your conferences, and it sounds like in many ways, Black in AI has experienced incredible growth and is going to continue growing. Can you tell us about the current programs that exist that our students and other people watching this can key into, and a little bit about sort of what's coming down the pike in the future?
Yeah, I can start off with just talking about at least the programs that I've helped organize. And so I guess first is our annual workshop, which we currently have at NeurIPS, which was one of the big machine learning conferences, and we hope to continue having it. For this year, we're still in the process of figuring out the details, but that should be up soon. And so having that conference and having a call for papers to where people can kind of showcase the research that they've done at these conferences and to a community of other Black scholars. So that's definitely something that we are continuing to do and push for at various conferences. And in addition to that, we also have the academic program, which right now I think the main kind of flagship program within that is the graduate mentorship program, where we have around 200 plus Black students and people who are interested in pursuing a graduate degree in computing. We match them with mentors and also provide a lot of resources about the process to applying to graduate school, both in the US and elsewhere. And so we just finished this round, and so we start a new round in the fall, basically to align with the admission cycle. And in addition to that, we also have been doing some research to try to understand what are the challenges that Black students face when they are applying to these programs. Specifically, one thing that we've definitely noticed was with regards to the GRE and just like students not having the financial resources to pay for taking the GRE, sending it to all the schools that they're applying to, as well as application fees that are required for a lot of these programs. And so we've been actively working with a lot of institutions to try and remove the GRE requirement, as well as provide financial resources to pay for the application fee. And so that's a lot of ongoing work that we've been doing that we will continue to do in the coming years, in addition to expanding that program to kind of helping people who are, once they're in grad school, how do we kind of provide a community of support so that students feel like they belong in their programs, as well as kind of further down the pipeline, thinking about what do you do when you graduate, like post PhD life? If you're looking for a career in academia, how do you go about, applying to different professor positions, postdoctoral positions, and things like that. And so, yeah, so that's kind of what we've been doing there. And we'll post and advertise when the program opens up again for the following year on our website, as well as our various like forums and Facebook groups and email lists. So if you're on any of those, and we try to share it broadly too to other groups. So yeah, I think, yeah, it should be readily available once it's available.
We're deciding who's going first. Yeah, so in talking about other programs, I also want to make sure I put out like the info to get involved. So like blackinai.org would be the place to interact with the org, and there's a tab for joining, becoming a member. One of the main things that we have is online community spaces, right? So whether this is Google Groups, email spaces, or we have our own forum in which like there's a lot of job posts and different opportunities. And so I guess like outside of the main events, one of the things I think, being honest, like we've grown to a space where like none of us understands all of what's going on at the same time, right? There's so many events and opportunities. One of the things that we're really doing is we're expanding our presence at more and more conferences, right? Like if there's a related conference, which you or like a group of people think like there's enough interest in which Black in AI might want to sponsor a social or something. We're doing this with more and more spaces. So from machine learning to robotics, language processing, computer vision conferences, we're trying to, make sure that we're in places and where we have enough of us, we have opportunity for fellowship. There's some ongoing future research initiatives which are going on. So work for summer research, REU programs, where we can, we're aiming to help partner undergraduates looking to get more research experience with mentors and professors who can help guide them along the way. And I know we're working on developing a program, an entrepreneurship focused program. So for our members in the startup community or running their own businesses, how can we best help them facilitate, use our network and whatever other resources we have to help them grow. I'm gonna pause. I'm sure there's stuff that I'm forgetting. So Sammy can hop in.
Sure. So I wanted to, particularly for the audience, repeat what Esne said about the workshop. So for folks who are, I guess, mostly students, but also anywhere in sort of the pathway around interest in AI and computer science, I think the workshop is a great place to network, meet other people in the space, which again, the whole community aspect of this, I think is incredible. It's virtual now, but I think it's still exciting. Particularly, I think it's a great place to also network with companies. If you're looking for an internship or a job, I think it's also a good opportunity to do that. Similar to or complementary to that, we regularly post job openings that get forwarded to us quite regularly in lots of different places. And so I guess another reason to join Black in AI, or one of the reasons to join Black in AI, is to get access to all these opportunities. There's a lot of our work, as you can tell, a lot of us are academically focused. So there's a lot of interest on the academic side, and I think maybe the bulk of our efforts are both primarily currently in the sort of undergrad to grad, as Nate said, but also we're looking to expand this more thinking about research for undergrads and other parts of that whole process, mentoring programs across the whole space. For folks, Devin already talked about the entrepreneurship. Beyond these primary initiatives and maybe the meetups and sort of closely related events that we help sponsor, again, I think the community itself, so the online community, is a great way just to meet like-minded people who are interested in similar things that you might be interested in. Great way to network, great way to find opportunities. I want to, I guess, shout that out as well. Consider if you're interested in any of these things, if any of what we've talked about sounds exciting, please go to the website and learn more about some of the details.
So I'm going to finish off by asking you all if there's anything you wish I had asked you, if there's some sort of burning comment or element of Black in AI or your own research or the effects of AI on Black communities or communities writ large that you'd like to talk about. I will give you a second to think about that. I will also ask a question which I am expecting the answer will be yes to, but many of those in our audience are going to be PhD students, faculty before tenure, and data scientists, and most of us will have backgrounds in the social sciences. And although I have no official capacity to invite you to the American Sociological Association conference, I would love to see you all there. And I wonder how welcoming, and I'm expecting you to say yes, this space is to social scientists. And then you can start answering the question I asked about what you wish I'd asked you.
Yeah, the space is very welcoming. I think we are targeting just interest in AI, all aspects of this, and I think intentionally are trying to be as broad and welcoming as possible. So yes, please come.
Yeah, I think we are very aware of just trying to diversify the space even within the Black and AI community to different areas of research around AI. And so we are definitely open to having more people from different backgrounds come into the space. In fact, encourage it. So yeah, yes. And I guess something that it was already said, so I don't wish we talked about it, but because we already did, but just to reiterate, I really do think that we're trying to move into a space where, we want to focus on what our community needs and wants, and kind of having a lot of our programming be community led. So if any of the things that we talked about are interesting to you or get you excited, then we'd love to have you join and even potentially, organize a social or workshop. So we're working on processes to have that happen. But if that is something that you're interested in, yeah, please do join and post so that we are aware.
Maybe for the academics, since you mentioned that's among the demographic groups, we're always excited about new possible mentors. So that's one maybe place to consider plugging in. Both for the academic program and also some of the research programs. So again, just I'll mention both of those, but I think nothing comes to mind that we didn't cover. I think you had a great set of questions and that covers, I think, many of the important points. I'll let Devin maybe close this out since he, what was the thing you said, Nanette, how he asked what recommended?
Voluntold.
Yeah,
that's a common quality of people who went to Stanford. I'm just saying.
I believe it. Yeah. So okay, what do I wish would have been asked or whatever? I mean, I think I snuck in the answer to it anyway, but I kind of would love to hear from the other members. It's like, what has been kind of your favorite takeaway from being involved with Black and AI and stuff like that? I definitely think for me it has been I've been extremely impressed, overwhelmingly impressed by the depth of people and expertise and stuff in this space, right? I think part of the issue is it's such a large space, right? We talk about this conference, NeurIPS is typically a 9,000 person conference or something like that, right? So there's so many people who you won't know or you won't get exposed to, and that's only one little piece of the iceberg of everyone involved in these related fields. And so I've truly enjoyed getting to know and be exposed to the research and all the brilliance of various people working in these spaces, and also how humble and open everyone has been, which is not my typical experience in academia. But Yeah, no. So for me, that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed, and I believe is a amazing aspect of this community.
So maybe I'll jump in briefly, and then maybe Esne will, since Devin somehow expertly turned this around into a question. But
expertly turn this around. I'm not going to have a job soon.
I know. So I think one aspect we didn't talk about very much, it just came to mind, is there is actually, I guess we didn't talk that much about impact, and I think there's been extraordinary impact from the work Timnit, Rediat, other folks on the board, other folks in the community have done. So lots of effort, but the workshop itself was essentially doubling in size every year when it started. The number of Black people admitted to graduate programs in the US, there's been a very noticeable uptick. I think Rediat led very noticeably 15, was it 10 or 15? I don't remember. But in the tens number of new graduate students in Berkeley, which is a record. I think actually helped lead the same at Cornell when she was there. And then this is just had huge impact all over the academic world. I think connecting people together has clearly already had impact. I think we've helped surface people all around the world who are doing great work in the space that maybe we're not as exposed as they should have been, given how great their work is. So I think we've also helped advocate at the academic conferences, and we've had now amazing speakers who are like amazing Black speakers that we helped help surface, or at least were part of the conversation. So I don't know, I'll shout out the group and all the awesome work that has actually led to quite a bit of amazing impact in the world as well.
Yeah, all of that is I 100% agree with, and I'm very proud to be associated with Black in AI and helping to have those goals and things come to fruition. I've also just loved the community aspect. I think for me, when I first kind of started in this field, I definitely felt alone and not having connection to a lot of other Black people in this space. And so I feel like Black in AI definitely created that for me. Even when I was at my own institution that didn't have as many Black students, but I could say like, oh no, I could just I'd be really excited to go to a conference and just be like, I'm so excited to like see all my friends again, see all the amazing Black people doing awesome work. And that is just such a joy to see and to have. And so I feel like for me, it really made an impact and like encouraged me to continue doing this work, to like see other people that I look up to that look like me who are doing this type of work. Like it just made it more concrete as of a goal for me to achieve and continue pushing, with the help of everybody on the board and just everybody a lot of people in the community. And yeah, so I think that's been the best part for me.
I want to thank you all for joining us today. It has been a privilege to share space with all of you. We expect great things from you and appreciate that you were willing to share your time with us. I hear you on getting involved, and apparently I'm going to have to organize some sort of event at ASA to get y'all to come. It'll definitely be worth it. So I'm going to close out our session by reminding everyone to follow us on social media, join our email list, and like us on social media also. You can find out more information about how to get involved with SICSS-Howard Mathematica via our website. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again.